Right. So I've got my time on here just so I don't overkill. Come on, guys. Come in. Grab a seat. Come on. That's it. Hello. This is the room you want to be in. Come on in. Oh, wow. Everyone's coming in. Oh, my goodness. We're going to run out of seats. Wow. Yes, 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 yes. My selector. Right. Sweet. Hello, Adam. Wow. Thank you so much for all turning up to this talk. I was getting a bit worried when we just had like the first few in here, and I'm like, we've got a couple of groupies, but we've got a whole posse now, so awesome. Right, so I'm here today to talk to you all about making PowerShell amazing. I know PowerShell is amazing already, but we're going to make it even more amazing. First off, a massive shout out to our sponsors, Patch My PC and Chocolatey, for making this event possible. So massive big up to them. I'm Adam Bacon. I've been in IT since 1999. I don't want to join my DevOps meeting. I told them I wasn't about today. I didn't come from a coding background, and basically when PowerShell 1 came out, I jumped on the gravy train because I thought it was a good thing, and I just got reading lots of books. Some of the books that I got reading, I didn't even understand a word. Like you read the book and you're like, didn't understand any of that. And you read it again, and some of after time it's stuck. So today I'm here to basically demonstrate how we can make any script into something amazing, right? It's only going to be your imagination that's going to be stopping you at this. So basically I try and use PowerShell every day to sort out any problem I'm given. But previous places where I've worked, I have been the only scripting guy. So, you've got to sort of design the back-end solution, the code, the front-end solution, and everything. I'm working for a great company now, which there's lots of other scripting people, so that's awesome. I did start this website last year. I did have it on the screen somewhere else. I started a website which I actually built via a binary module, and all of this website was designed in Notepad, and then I just used PowerShell, the module, to upload it. So today, basically, just to try and give you some idea what we're going to do, we're going to be fighting crime, okay, or finding crime. I didn't know it, but the police have an API that will tell you about all crime in a given area, okay? So I made this PowerShell function called Find Crime UK, and it finds crime in a given area. But when I put it out there on the PowerShell gallery, this was kind of like the best I could do for you. Just give it to you in an out grid view, and you can then sort it and everything. But again, I just didn't feel that was the best thing that I could have done. So obviously I got invited to this talk, and a massive thank you all for coming to this talk. And like I say, this talk's all more about giving your scripts that visual, gooey awesomeness. To show you what I mean, we're gonna just, talked about how we're gonna pretty much turn your script into something amazing. So today we're going to cover PS Write HTML, Import Excel, Pode Web, and PowerShell Universal. So I know that that's a lot to cover, and I've got my little time here, so I don't over waffle. I'm also going to squeeze in there PowerShell AI, which I've got using recently. That has totally blown my mind. It's like using the internet all over again for the first time. And I hope I haven't included it in the presentation, but you'll be able to see it in the application, and I'm more than happy to talk about that. Basically, this module, Find Crime UK, just chatting with a friend once, and there was a load of police down the road, and he was like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "I don't know." So I actually looked on the web, and then I found out that there's the police API. So all the crime that goes on that doesn't appear in the paper, it's actually recorded on the crime API. So that to me was like, wow, I didn't know that you could find out all the crime in a given area of the country. So, yep, I got the API from the official data police, and then to make it easier, so our lovely police force have built this API, but they only do it via longitude and latitude. And as we're humans, if I was like, what is your longitude and latitude? You ain't going to remember like all those digits. So I built in something, a sub-function, so I could just give it a name of a town or a place, and then it would give me the longitude and latitude for that, and then go off to the police database API. But as you can see, sort of, that is the output from PowerShell. Plain, boring text. I know it's object-orientated, but it is just text. And that's the best I could get it, was outgrid view. So the first module, PS Write HTML, is totally free. You can download it from the PowerShell gallery. And literally, all I had to do to get this, well, to me, that's a much better outlook. All I had to do, guys and ladies, was, oh, sorry, me trying to click. As you can see, so instead of sending the main data to the outgrid view, we literally just had to put out HTML view. And then you get this, which is a lot better than the PowerShell outgrid. We've got pagination, we've got export options, and it looks great. However, you can also create dashboards with PS Write HTML. So again, like that table that I showed you there, that might be great to send in an email, or like a breakdown of, I don't know, maybe your top 5 servers that are low on disk space or whatever you guys monitor. But boom, then you can turn it into something like this. And I'm like, wow, that's looking good now, you know what I mean? That's from that text, we've got this. And it's not that difficult to actually do any of this. Oh, give over. I don't use Notepad all the time. So yeah, that PS Write HTML, literally just importing a CSV that I outputted. I'll just run the script here, which isn't very long. Boom, as you see, how many lines is that? So that grabs that CSV, does all of that in like 37 lines. Boom, you've got some you've got some nice looking output. And I mean, I've worked places where I explained to some nice lady over there that one of the places where I was working before, the geezer that I worked with, he used Crystal reports. And the finance manager that he sent those reports to, he loved it that was in PDF, and and all I could do was export CSV at the time, and the finance manager was like, well, CSV or this lovely looking PDF, and it was always the PDF that he went for. So I then found tools like this that I could go, hey, look, that guy's PDF, forget that, look at this, you've got this statistics, graphs. So yeah, that's my first module that I want to inject into your brain if you didn't know about it, is PS Write HTML. So you can, like I say, you can get some either just tables, send via emails, or you could create proper dashboards and attach that to emails. This one's been about for a long time, Import Excel. I think 2015 it came out. Again, I've gone through the pain of recording macros in Excel and doing like fancy stuff, and then trying to run that macro from my PowerShell code, and yeah, goodness knows why I was doing it like that. Import Excel, obviously, you have to know a bit about Excel. I mean, it really benefit you if you knew how to do pivot tables and things like that, because when you come to use this module, literally, you can automate everything. I think I've got a small demo here of that. Import Excel to... I will find a better editor than Notepad one day. So yeah, boom. We've got 4 lines of code here where we're just testing if that exists, importing the CSV. Where's that going to export to? Yeah. So if I just run these 4 lines of code, again, instead of me now sending my boss or whatever just that the export CSV, he could now have it in a pivot table with a lovely 3D exploding pie chart of, you know what I mean? Like, boom, that you can easily see that Gosport Police ain't doing too well because they didn't find basically mainly all the people doing the crime. But that's import Excel. Doug on his GitHub has lots of examples on how to use it, but as you can see with 4 lines of code, it really wasn't that difficult to get something, again, what I personally feel is much better looking. Like I said, I'm going to probably put all this code and that on my website, you know, so if people are trying to write it down or whatever, like, don't worry, I will make it available for you. So this actual next module, Pod Web, I didn't know about this module until the beginning of this month. I'll just be honest, you know what I mean? I'm looking out for other cool things and things that you can use to do PowerShell and put it in a web-based form. So this Pod Web, it gives some nice output. This is more what I was visualizing in my head when I wanted to do this police crime output, is, you know, have something real fancy looking at the end of it. So for me, I'm feeling like this is halfway here. This is a completely free application as well, which is, you know, pretty damn amazing, you know, because it looks good and everything. It's only like the 4th time I've done that. So yeah, this is a free module. I think the only downsides with this is that you can only get one endpoint, I believe. So you can't have your web page doing multiple lookups to things. But again, I think this is about 60 lines of code. So 60 lines of code. I know that's, you could have just gone export Excel and import Excel, but you're just going to have plain looking data. So 60 lines of code, if you can be bothered to do that amount. Like I say, this website as well, it has good documentation and demos, and it's really looking at those demos and then, yeah, like I say, getting your data and putting it into it. It shouldn't be too much longer. Boom, the website started up. So if I just quickly go to this.
This documentation thing, can you tell me more about it?
Yes.
Other people do.
So yeah, if you go, obviously if you search for Pod Web documentation, you'll find that on the internet. I don't know if I've got the exact page for it here. So sorry, those 60 lines of code. Just so again, I mean, it'd be better if you had a dedicated machine at work to run this on or something. But boom, you know, this is just coming from CSV. So any of you guys, whatever script you run, you're going to be getting back data from it, yeah? That data you can transform into something that is now looking a bit more, woo, you know, than just a CSV. It's not just text anymore. We've got this, and we've got like our thing down here that we can search, and nice line graph and all of that. So yeah, this to me is getting closer and closer to this dream that I've got in my head of this crime fighting application that I'm going to make. So yeah, Pod Web, I do think it's really cool. I don't really know enough about it to be selling it to you any more than this product, which I do know a lot about. So this will probably pretty much kill the rest of the presentation. So PowerShell Universal, when it originally came out a good few years ago, it was called Universal Dashboard, and it was just a module that you could download. The guy who made it, Adam Driscoll, has now made it into a full-on MSI installer. I believe that there is like a trial version, well, there is a trial version, but I think you can also use it for free, but it's limited. That's the one, Rob, Community Edition, for the community. So yeah, you can find out more about this software at the Iron Man Software official site. I've also got my own website I did a good few years ago when I was building custom components for this website, which I've documented here. I built a few more custom components more recently down here. So just to kind of give you guys a little idea about this, PowerShell Universal is it uses React, so that's what Facebook is using for their like fancy widgets and everything that they use. The lovely Chrissy Lemaire, who is absolutely awesome. I got chatting to her one day, and she was using this product, and she wanted something that would zoom in on an image. Don't know why she wanted it, but the component didn't exist. So I built it for her, and that was the end result, that you could zoom in on any image and then zoom out. So without further ado, let's get the butchers at PowerShell Universal. Like I say, this is like the main bit of the presentation. Okay, so just loading up here. So PowerShell Universal, it's kind of like 3 products in one. You get to call APIs, so that would work over, Linux, Unix, whatever. You've got also jobs that you can schedule, automation, so that's like task manager on steroids, because you can actually get so much more output from your job. And then finally, it also allows you to create dashboards. So again, some people are just like, all funny with their coding and that. The dude, they've got to use a specific code in, it's all got to be indented. So I just wrote all the code in this program using this thing here, and it worked great for me. He does have a VS Code plugin that you can use. So I'm just going to quickly see how much time I got left. 70 minutes. Okay, so boom. This is the Find UK Crime module that I wrote originally. All I've done is just put it into the background so that when all those people that you might have at work that go, no, I'm not a scripter, I don't run scripts, no, I don't know how to do it, you could maybe build them something like this so they can just point and click and they can't get it wrong, and they just click a button and then it gives them the answer. So, like I said, I didn't actually put it in the presentation because I've only got using it very recently, but we're using PowerShell AI to actually tell me about the crime in Gosport here. It should update with the population of Gosport shortly. So that's PowerShell AI that I've just gone off and got that. Boom, there we go. So we've got around 80,000 people living in Gosport. So in the month November 2022, we can see that 308 crimes were reported. And yeah, I can sort it by outcome or, what street it happened on. I've got a load of options here where I could give it to, if I still work there, I could be exporting it as a PDF now. Yeah. And, doing those things. So hopefully this next screen will blow your mind. So, like I say, we've got PowerShell AI working here within PowerShell Universal and my own custom module that did just spit out text. So like I say, if you've got a finance department or, I don't know, someone else that you have to show this to, wow, look at it now. You know what I mean? I've got numerous graphs and that, and I can Say, well, out of those 308 crimes, 101 of them didn't even get a suspect identified, unable to prosecute 81 of them. They're still under investigation, so free. So here I can say, well, the Gosport Police solved 35 of those 308 crimes. Come down a bit, I've got a lovely looking pie chart here now where I can just hover over and I can, easily see that violent crime is our worst thing that's in Gosport. It does make sense. I've even done a heat map now to break this down over the year. So I actually went off with those API calls with the year that the users selected. And then because the police only give it every month what the crime was, so now I can just hover over each of these to say, well, how bad was the crime in July compared to, whenever that we're looking at. You didn't see me refresh the page there. And then just because I was just interested in what AI would return, so I'm getting the worst crime that's apparently ever happened in Gosport. It's not nice. And then here on the left, we've got a line graph, which is broken down all the crime over the year, a bit like the heat map. But again, I'm giving you a different way of you can view that. I'm saying it's just your imagination, guys, that's holding you back, how you want to display this data. Again, you might have someone who goes, well, I really wanted to see this in a pivot table. Well, look, I'm just building a pivot table here on the fly. And then you're like, well, I want to see the important stuff. Well, look, there you go. Oh, I'm sorry, because I've got my refresh rate. I'm dynamically refreshing this data, hence why it just suddenly changed there. But yeah, you can put things into, there's just so much you could do with this, you know what I mean? Just building it on the fly there. So I'm hopefully injected lots of ideas into your brain with you guys thinking, wow, I could get my PowerShell script that does this to actually output it like this. And then, like I say, is you might have Trevor who only has an iPad or something and the screen's this big. Look, guys, it automatically resizes everything on the screen. And then you make your screen a bit smaller and it's going to resize that. Because I hate going on these websites these days and, you know what I mean, and the text is all out. You're like, just get with it. So yeah, that's all built in by default. And then finally, just kind of not knowing what any of you guys do for your work and that, but boom, I've got a map here as well now. So I can zoom in and see where all this crime's happening. If I didn't have 4 beautiful daughters and that, I might have been able to have time to make it so that you could actually click on this marker, which would then open up a modal showing you that crime that's been reported here. I could have also, if I didn't have so many kids, maybe look at changing the markers to relate to the type of crime it was, like arson, you could have a fire, bike theft or whatever, you could have a bicycle. Again, I've got all these ideas, you know what I mean? Nothing is stopping you. There's loads of documentation. So again, like here on the right, I've got another type of chart there, a word chart. So apparently bicycle theft is pretty low. I thought we used to be the capital for that. But yeah, but anyway, so hopefully this is getting you to think, wow, I could get my data looking, like this. I don't have to be a web designer. I don't have to know all about Google Maps and that. Like I say, is this particular product, the PowerShell Universal, it has hundreds and hundreds of different components that have been added on to this. You might have seen it in the slides, but that's my kind of alter ego name, PS Dev UK. So I've built like 130 of these, like random components and that. I have documented them on either that blog site or my other blog site. But yeah, I'm just here today to kind of say your original export CSV or whatever script you're running, you can make it look a lot better, I feel, just by either tapping into a few modules like import Excel, Pode Web, PS Write HTML, or if your company's got a little bit of Wonga, I think it's $500, you could get this or the community version, as Rob has mentioned, but you are more limited on what you can do with the community version. But for me, this is like making my dream come true of that original Find Crime UK function that now I could like show my dad or my mum, you know, or anybody, and they'll be like, pretty, wow, I didn't know this was happening. Yeah, guys, so I'm hoping that over these 25 minutes, I've injected some ideas into your head on different ways and modules that you can use with PowerShell to make your output just that little bit prettier. Yeah, like I say, this is, for me now, a fully fledged application. There's so much you can do with this. There's light and dark modes as well. There's loads of documentation on the PowerShell Universal because it's developed so much. Like I say, I am using PowerShell AI to grab some of that data. I've had to put it previous because I believe the most recent police data is December 2022 because they're always a bit behind on the API. It might even be January, but like I say now is I've built like a fully fledged application that tells me the population, so like I could maybe relate that to the number of crimes. Not that I'm going for a job as the new police commissioner or anything, but you know, I can see how bad crime is in that area. I can export that data of all that crime, or what I prefer doing is just looking at that data, but in various different graphical ways that might make a bit more sense to me. Of easily, like there, you can see September was the worst month for crime. You know, I haven't had to look at loads of data or loads of output to get that. It's just there. And again, depending what companies you work at, you might want a map or something showing that information. I was quite shocked because this is where my new work is, and when I went up there, it was just kind of out in the stigs, you know what I mean? It looked all like country, nothing was happening, but yeah, boom, you can actually see there's a fair bit of crime going on in Peterborough. So, yeah, that's my talk today. I'm just trying to get it into your heads that you could do anything with PowerShell. You know, you don't have to be a web developer. You don't have to know how that component works. The chap has literally, so again, I will try and put all these links in on my actual web page. The guy's actually got a demo PowerShell site for PowerShell Universal. I don't really feel like he's done it enough justice on how good it can be, but you know, like badges, I didn't include any of them. So I click on this, I can see a demo of what the badge does, and then you've got the code there of how to use the badge. Basically, with this program, to try and simplify it in your head, is that everything's a grid, and it's 12. So from there to there is 12. So if I just want two things displaying, I'd make that a 6 and that a 6. So as you can see here, I've got a picture here, so that's like a size 2. I've then made that a size 2, so we're at 4. I've then made that a size 5, so we're at 9 now. And then I made that a size 3. And then you can tell it for when your screen size changes, that's where you can tell it, I want this to be on a medium screen, you might want that to be a 6, so it takes up half the screen, and that to be a 6. So that when you then start shrinking the page and that, so that's still showing, if I just pull that down. So
Date in the future and predict the crime.
well, the problem with PowerShell AI guy, nice to meet you, is that it doesn't know what day it is. Yeah, a bit like, yeah. So yeah, that I have found that like with chat AI that, yeah, if you ask it what is today, it normally tells you it's in June or something, 2020 or something. So obviously because the AI is only trained up to a certain date. But yeah, like I say, is this for me is just making dreams come true, that I can design amazing looking web pages, I can resize them, all the data is going to fit on there, I can have fancy things happening on the page to keep the user's eye on it. But yeah, I've kind of got to the 30-minute mark now, which I was advised that it's over to you guys there and ladies for any questions or anything that you might want to ask, or yeah, anything like you want to know more about that you've seen today.
Now, PowerShell AI, what's it using as the back end? What's what AI engine is actually using?
So you actually get to choose what AI engine you want to use with So that one is using the Text DaVinci 003. So I've actually where is it? Yeah, I've asked, not that I've got any problems with Doug Fink's version, because that's amazing, but yeah, I've actually made a few chat GPT things myself, and I've done it again, didn't I? How many times am I going to do that? So yeah, if you're polite enough and you get asking chat GPT nicely, it will tell you what all the engines it's got are, and then you could just make that into like a validate parameter set, so that every time you ask ChatGPT, you could then select what model you want to use. I have found, though, for us PowerShell people, it's got a DaVinci Codex engine, which sounds like, yeah, that's what we need for code, but it doesn't know PowerShell code. It knows JavaScript and Python and things like that. So for what I've found is that the Text DaVinci 003 seems to give the best PowerShell, and the 002. But yeah, you get to choose what engine you want to use. And like I say, is I made this function get ChatGPT free completion by just asking ChatGPT to write me. You didn't see that. API key. Yeah, by getting ChatGPT to ask me, like, just say, no, write me a PowerShell function so that I can interact with you. And then it gave me that function, you know what I mean? Like, how easy is our lives going to be, people? Like, you know, we can just ask ChatGPT to do our work now. Yeah, so, and there's loads of examples on, you know, if you wanted. Yeah, if you see me on Twitter and that, you might see that I've started a new career in rapping, which is actually from AI. So you can do raps for a laugh, and it just fits in giggles sort of thing. But yeah, a teammate was like telling me some stuff. So I was like, oh, give him like a facetious reply talking as a pirate. And they was like, oh, it did it all in pirate talk. And I was like, that's mental. Like, so yeah, there is quite a, you know, few things that you can do with ChatGPT, but it's mainly setting the prompt, is how you ask it. But they do actually have an example. I know it wasn't part of our planned talk. But
Hey guys, that's where your computation is.
oh man. So yeah, when Doug brought it out, it was amazing, but then when I looked at like these examples, like summarize this, you know, text, that's quite a bit of complicated text to remember. But if you prompt summarize this for a second grade student, instead of, you just get back that, you know, which I think, so I then made the PowerShell function, contributed it to Doug so that you could get a basic response, you know, grammar correction, text to command, explain code. I also have read my kids some bedtime stories. I'm not too sure if any of you guys or ladies have children, but if you do, and you're stuck for a bedtime story, I gave it, topic was a pig and a chicken, and it was like a 9-sentence comedy story. And yeah, we got a bedtime story about a pig and a chicken, and it was very funny. So yeah, you know, like with this chat GPT thing, it has blown my mind. It's like using the internet again. It is based on tokens. So the less tokens you provide, again, you could set that as a parameter. The less tokens you provide is the smaller response you get. The temperature is the higher it is the more sort of quirky randomness. You might get like, you know, like ostentatious word in there or something, you know, in the response. So if you gave it like a temperature of 0.2, that's just going to be a very standard, this is your answer. But maybe if I tweaked up to 0.8, it might go, you could have lots of, you know what I mean? And it would give me a completely different answer. But yeah, guys, I cannot recommend jumping on the bandwagon and getting on this chat API. Just because it's amazing. And if you look at the examples and how to prompt it, you can get back so much more from it. Write a 4-paragraph. Oh God, if I could spell. Oh. So obviously I could do this through my PowerShell shell thing, but this is like the web-based version of it. So I've asked it now to write a 4-paragraph letter to thank all of you lovely people. And I've got an error, so I should have used, I should have just used the PowerShell one. I don't ever get in it. Yeah, sorry, because basically the rest of the world's being really selfish and they want a piece of this as well. So you do find that if there's too many people on here, you might get something like that. But I read in the paper recently that someone got a £200 parking fine reduced to £15 because they used ChatGPT and didn't get an error, and they got it to write a lovely letter.
Plugged in on USB-C, did you?
Wait, shh. Right, let's get one of my scripts. Invoke OpenAI. Yes, so that's why you need to come in here. Hey, so that should prompt me. So right, fingers crossed, people. No. Proxy authentication required. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Are you plugged into USB-C?
I'm on the Wi-Fi here.
No, that's not the question I'm asking.
USB-C. I've got my.
Oh, you're plugged straight into that. All right, I've got a ChatGPT.
But yeah, sorry guys. Is there any other questions? Whilst I'm just trying to get a thank you letter written for all of you.
Maybe try use the new Bing.
Yeah. Bing, bing a ding.
See if you can plug into that.
It's a site that's
Oh.
running.
Seriously,
Does it
because
have to be
I've got
hosted
Plus,
through
so
PowerShell?
you can show all of that
Host
on
that elsewhere.
if you plug it. Unplug that.
Oh right, and then stick it in.
Plug that in there.
Mm.
Once you've just done that, you've got a question.
You got a question? You had a question?
Does it spit out static code that you can upload to a web server somewhere, or does it have to be running through PowerShell to run to the web server?
On the PowerShell Universal. So that runs as a service on your computer. You can host that on Azure. I'm hosting it on my laptop. I could have, so I've set the folder to as a specific folder shared in the program. But if I had have just put that data from the API and just put it to a global variable, I could have just called in the global variable. It doesn't have to be a static file that it reads the information from.
No, I meant more, can you take the static files that are in that directory and stick them on a web server that's not be running PowerShell Universal on the machine as a web server?
Sorry, buddy. So you want the files? You want to know if you can stick files?
Do you have to use the web server? Yeah, use PowerShell Universal as the web server.
It's a .NET Core. It doesn't have like static files.
Sorry, thank you, mate.
Yeah, so I mean you can run it just as is, like Adam said. You can just double click it, service.
Well,
You can run it under IIS.
I was going to say, Rob's got my back already, man. He's already done it. So here we go. You know, you can read that letter yourself, but that's the kind of thing that ChatGPT can spit out. I've got to maybe put my hand up here that I've cheated and used it for solve some work problems recently and, you know, update some of my tickets. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like, we were using, like, Google and stuff before, but instead of getting, like, a possible 10,000 thank you letters, yeah, you can, boom. So again, see, so if I had have knew about ChatGPT before I knew about this, I could have. Oh, come on, mate. Which one have you got? Normally, I just put PowerShell.
Yeah, you gave me the response. It tells you to use the API I think we're using.
But yeah, sorry guys. I know that this wasn't part of it. So yeah, I've told it, write me a PowerShell function to use invoke REST method to connect to the police API. Boom. Do you know what I mean? So
I seriously love it for going, here's this code, can you tell me what it does? And it will spit out exactly what it does.
so yeah, like I say, this wasn't part of my talk, but as Doug Fink has only released this module recently, and I've used it in my PowerShell presentation for the PowerShell Universal side. Yeah, I thought it'd be well worth sort of mentioning it and yeah, making it part of this presentation. I say you can just give it PowerShell questions, like write me a PowerShell function to do this, and lo and behold it, if I worked out how Rob's mouse buttons work. Yeah. I'm just trying to go down. Good luck. Oh. Yeah, so boom, and if we just go up just a little bit. Yeah, so again, guys, you know what I mean? Like to write you some pretty damn good code, and then if you don't like it, you could say, right, give me a different example. I had a 15-minute lecture the other day about how I should be indenting my code, and I was just like, this person, look, it was just a copy and paste. I know how to indent code, and then so maybe I was being a bit facetious, and I got it to write me some nice indented code, you know, and I sent that to her, and I was like, yeah, I do know how to indent code, but yeah, guys, and ladies, so I keep on saying guys, but I well recommend jumping on this hype train and learning and seeing what you can do with that. And obviously, with the other modules that I've mentioned today, only one of them is paid for, but as Rob's mentioned, there is also a community version of that. And end of the day, it's just your imagination now that's going to stop you from building these amazing things.
Good work, dude. Where's your, how do people get in touch with you?
PS Dev UK, you've seen it down the bottom on the whole of the...
I know, now you're on my laptop, aren't you? That's why.
I can't believe you don't have my website as a favourite, Rob.
What's his homepage?
Oh, you want it as your homepage, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't even remember what... Oh, I think that's it. Yeah, so if you do want to drop me a note or whatever, this is my personal website that I will be updating to include this talk, what we've done here. But as you can see here, you've got there a Twitter link, GitHub, and a magical hand that just moves about, look, without my hands. And come look at this website. I've got advanced function, binary function, crescendo functions, got a bit of everything on there. PowerShell universal functions. That's me, the bold geezer. That's some lovely graffiti work in my background. And that is some awesome geometric stuff I've done in my bedroom to please my wife. I was sitting there for an interview once, and I'm like sitting, and I'm like, yeah. And this guy's like, oh, what's your background? And I'm like, yeah, I've been in IT for just over 20 years, and rambled on for 10 minutes. And he went, no, your background. Never falling for that one again. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, whenever I get, do you mean the geometric wall, or do you mean my background? Yeah. So but yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter. I think I might even be on Facebook. I don't know. I don't ever use it. But. No, I'm way too old for that, mate. I'm way too old. My kids have probably got TikTok, but yeah, I'm not TikToking it yet. I've got some scratch videos on YouTube, but you guys probably don't want to, not happy hardcore ravers or whatever, so yeah. But yeah, I just hope that you've enjoyed this talk and that you've maybe thinking like, now what can I do with my PowerShell script? How can I do this with it? Or making it so you can share it with colleagues, or making your colleagues run your scripts by just clicking buttons. Don't scare them saying, I've got this script that you need to run, because most people run away from you when you say you want them to run a script. So yeah, hopefully that this has given you some ideas, and thank you very much. I can't believe how many people of you guys came here. Thank you.